a scenario in which Egypt and North Africa goes to war. One thing before we start. So my channel is at 556 subscribers, which means we're 44 away from our goal by the end of this month. So please subscribe, as we only have a limited time. And what I consider North Africa is north of Senegal. I consider it north of Eritrea, north of Chad, north of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, and north of Sudan. So this will be Egypt is technically not really North Africa. And Cabo Verde will be considered part of it, as it kind of is. And Egypt is going to war with all of these nations, including two of the strongest in Africa, which will include these two. Sudan is pretty strong, but right now it's having some internal issues. So that weakens it. Egypt taking opportunity to itself, as Libya is pretty much unable to fight. They just move into Sudan with a wide front. But the Sudanese resistance holds them back. In this region, they send most of their defenses to hold back. But Egypt takes advantage of this and tries to push down the Nile and into the desert. Why? Because they can. How's their offensive going? Pretty well. But Algerian and Moroccan troops arrive, and now they try to take Cairo. But it doesn't go so successful as they stall out here. But Egypt moved forces, so there's a bit of a counter-offensive in this region done. But realizing that a lot of water underground in Libya is in this region, they go into here where all the aquifers are. Naturally, there's lots of water under the ground, which is groundwater, and non-renewable water, basically. And Egypt is doing pretty well. And then they finally get down Sudan's coast. And they cut Eritrea off. Eritrea falls despite having a big military. I believe they put a lot of people into their military. And Sudan is struggling. So more troops are put here, which kind of allows a counter-offensive in this region, because they move troops here, realizing that that front's frozen, so it's probably not going to move. And then, well, just as they said it wouldn't, this kind of happens. It falls. And Egypt is struggling to go to war with all of North Africa, but they're making a breakthrough in Libya with a big encirclement, guys. Look how big it is. Pretty big. Large. Probably a few 100,000 troops. They just keep moving as they encircle Tripoli and continue forwards. As this encirclement that kind of looks like a capybara. Kind of looked like a capybara. See, kind of looks like a capybara. See, gets pushed back. And yeah, that's the end of it. And so, yeah. And then, well, an offensive is made by the stronger nations in the north against Egypt. Even taking Tripoli back. But Egypt's offensive in Sudan is starting to get towards the end of it. As they're moving towards Khartoum, they take the city. And they start being basically unable to hold back the front line, as they are basically routed in the desert somehow. And then routed in the south. And with the Egyptian forces moving into Chad now, their goal is to take Lake Chad, as a lot of water is there as they get there. And Chad unfortunately loses in the south. And then Egypt moves down into Libya. And Chad just falls. With Egypt, let's see how much Egypt occupies. They're doing pretty well. They send peace, but nobody wants peace for some reason. Although Sudan and Chad is still resisting in Eritrea. With Algerian forces being spread into the south to push back, which was a bit of a trap they walked into there, as Egypt moved forces out to try and trick them into invading there. Well, they kind of did this to try to get their capital, maybe not take it, but yeah. Algeria moves all forces basically in this area to defend the city. So Egypt just walks in. As the battle breaks out, Algeria's forces are not there. And well, on the good news, they finally arrive. And this is one of the big battles for deciding. As they encircle the forces, these forces are forced to flee by sea. And they flee to Tunisia. And yeah, they move down the coast to Libya. As they're being routed, the Egyptians in this area, in the south, they also get routed. With a rise up in Niger and a rise up in Sudan and a rise up in Chad against them, they quickly become more like this, meaning they're way less strong. And then they get routed in Niger, as this allows all these forces to take a big chunk, a big swath. And with Chad, they move up. Well, the Chad rebels. And then the Sudan rebels expand. Basically, Egypt is in trouble. As they move down the coast of Libya, they move like this because Egypt is moving a lot of forces out. So they move all their forces, evacuate them all from this area and from the area south of this. So this all fell. Egypt says, I'll do peace. We just do it to the border that we hold. And this is when Eritrea rises up successfully and meets up with the Chad rebels. No, the Sudan rebels, not the Chad rebels. And eventually, this is what the front line looks like. As their whole front outside of their borders fall. And Egypt is forced into a bad situation, as they are being invaded on 3 fronts. 2 fronts, actually. I don't know why I said 3, but this is 2 fronts. And, well, Alexandria falls. And then comes the fall of Cairo, with the rest of the nation falling and them meeting for peace. I will show the peace borders, but I won't show the peace treaty being the coloring of the borders in. And Sudan takes this. This is given to Libya. And really not much does change other than Egypt gets smaller. Way smaller. Of its land, 1/3 to Libya, 1/3 to Sudan. Egypt is much weaker. And quickly the situation for Egypt gets bad. As for some reason, they lost this land. Someone, and most of the Middle East is not really happy. I don't know why. Not like that much has changed. And yeah. Okay, quite a bit has changed, with a lot of people unifying. Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Iran, and then the Arabian Peninsula unites. Doesn't look great. And so, yeah. That's all for today's video. Now, let's talk about our goals. So, our next subscriber special will be at 750 subscribers. And our next goal, and our goal right now, is 600 subscribers by July 1st, which, in case you don't know, that's in 10 days. So we need to pick up the rate of subscribing and make it there. And our next special is at 750 subscribers. And our August 1st goal is 800 subscribers. Yep, that's a big goal, ambitious goal. I think we can get it. By the end of the year, we're trying to get to at least 1,000, but I think we'll get more than just that by the end of the year. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. Please like, subscribe, comment. That's all for today's video. Wild Mapper out. Thanks for viewing, but I'm out after you subscribe.